Hello everybody and welcome back to the MMA Training Bible's step-by-step guide to goal setting. I'm Dr. Jason Gillis. Just a little recap of what we've done so far and where we're going to go. This is part one we're in, and the last session that you came off of was session one. It was understanding the fighter's mindset, and in that session you learned why you fight and you learned some of the common pitfalls of why other fighters maybe don't reach their full potential. In this session, we're going to start profiling. We're going to use psychological tools to profile your skills in a whole bunch of different areas. And first, we want to focus on your MMA skills. In the next session, we're going to talk about physical fitness, and in the fourth session, we're going to talk about psychological skills. Once we get through with part one, then we're going to move on to part two, where we're going to set some big goals that are very compelling, that are going to get you jumping out of bed in the morning to go and train. So without further ado, let's get into it. So welcome to session two. In this session, we're going to get you to consider your strengths and your weaknesses in the area of your MMA skills or your technical development. It's all those special skills that you're learning and training. We're going to use some great tools from sports psychology to help you get associated with where you are right now. Let's give you a little overview of learning objectives. So the big learning objective for this video is I want you to complete a performance profile that characterizes your present level of skills in the areas of technical development and your MMA skills. And it's going to be in a couple different areas. And this is exactly what we're going to cover. And I mentioned you're going to be looking at your MMA skills in a couple different areas. These are the areas that we're going to look at. We're going to look at your proficiency in standing striking, in ground-based striking and submissions, in takedowns, in ground-based wrestling and grappling, and standing wrestling and grappling. So remember, the big thing that we want to answer here is, where are you now in your MMA career? Have you developed the psychological skills that are necessary to compete and excel in mixed martial arts? Exercise 2, that's what we're going to be focusing on, and that is what we're going to use to shed some light on that question. Now, this is the same document that you've been working through in session 1, so go and grab that document, or you can also download it. It should be just around the edges of the video here. You just need to click and download that, and let me just show you what it should look like if you don't have it already. So this is the document that we've been working through. You should have already completed exercise 1, why do you fight? And now we're going to get into exercise 2, and specifically we're going to focus on the first performance profile, which is going to look like this. So if you don't already have this document out in front of you, then please pause the video now and download this document, or get the other document that you've been working through and get it in front of you, and get a pencil, because we're going to go through this and I'm going to introduce you to this whole diagram in a second. So pause the video now and get ready, because we're about to jump into this. Okay, I'm going to assume that you're ready to go, because we're ready to go here, and we're going to describe this slide first. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this is a tool that sports psychologists use to try to quantify your performance. And ultimately, I want you to take some time to fill out this figure, this performance profile. Now, I've adapted these from the research of Butler and Hardy, which was published in 1992, and you can find the exact reference at the end of this video lecture. The nice thing is, these profiles, they should help you reflect on and become more aware of the performance qualities that are necessary for successful MMA performance. They can also help you identify your strengths and weaknesses, and that's really what I like to use them for. I want to give you a little overview of these profiles before we get going, so you know exactly how to use them. So again, let's just get into this profile here. So what we're looking at around the edges of this profile, there's a couple different domains we're looking at. The first one I want to talk about is standing striking. So when we talk about standing striking, this could be offensive or defensive. So if we're talking offensive, it's going to be your proficiency on a scale of 1 to 10, and you see how these outer circles are always 10, the inner circles are always 1, and you can count them out: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And all you're doing is you're just shading in your level of proficiency in offensive standing striking. So if you're excellent at offensive standing striking, if there's nothing else for you to learn in that area, then you would probably give yourself a 10. Although if you're like most of us, you probably have room for improvement. Maybe you're going to shade in a little bit less than a 10. And of course, there's a defensive side to striking. This is recognizing what strikes are coming at you and being aware of the situation and being able to defend against particular types of strikes, whether it's a elbow destruction block or whether it's checking kicks correctly. Then you're going to shade in your effectiveness here on a scale of 1 to 10. So this is ground-based, or standing striking here. The next category that we want to talk about is ground-based striking. So this is any position that you can think of, any position you consider to be important, whether it's on your back or on your knees, in a dominant position or otherwise. You're going to focus on your offensive, so striking from these positions on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you? And from a defensive or evasive position, so if you're on the bottom, someone's got mount on you and they're raining down strikes, are you able to be aware and be defensive and evasive and not receive strikes? So you're gonna rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in ground-based striking and in submissions as well, and you're gonna be offensive submissions, so this is you applying submissions, but then there's also a defensive aspect in escapes. So you're gonna rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in offensive and defensive aspects of submissions. And then takedowns is gonna be important. It's either going for a takedown on the offensive side or defending against a takedown. If someone is trying to take you down, can you defend against takedowns? So again, on a scale of 0 to 10. And then we have ground-based wrestling and grappling. So think of body position here. And of course, there's going to be offensive components of body position, trying to control somebody, and a defensive, so reversals and escapes as well. So you're going to rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 as well. And then we also have standing wrestling and grappling. So infighting against the cage or just standing. And you're going to have an offensive body control or a defensive reversal type component or spectrum on this one as well. So these are all the different MMA skills that I want you to consider that you're going to try to rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And I just want to give you an idea of what your performance profile might look like. So what we would do is we're just shading in those areas. So you can see here for this particular fighter, in terms of offensive ground striking, they're ranking themselves at around a 5. And for defensive, they're ranking themselves a little bit lower than a 5, maybe a 4.5 or so. So you're just shading in those areas. Here you can see for submissions, it's going to be offensive and defensive. It's about the same, around a 6. And then we go over here to takedowns. Maybe not so good at takedowns. They have a lot of room to go here, both offensive and defensively. And then we're looking at ground-based wrestling and grappling. You can see that they're a little bit better here with defensive and offensive aspects. So you can see submissions, ground-based wrestling and grappling, it's about the same. They're putting themselves somewhere around a 6 or so. And then we move over to standing wrestling and grappling, and they're a little bit lower here. And then we finally get to standing striking as well. So what you're looking at here is probably somebody who maybe has a bit of background in submission wrestling, maybe a wrestler, maybe even someone in jiu-jitsu, and maybe their striking isn't as good as their submission game, although it could be anybody these days. So the thing I want you to note here is ideally you want to be even in all areas, so no matter who you come up against, you're going to be very well rounded. So you can see that this particular fighter, they need to bump it up in terms of takedowns, both offensive and defensive. They definitely need to bump it up in terms of standing striking on the defense, and also in these areas in general, standing striking and standing wrestling as well. Okay, so now that you know how to use this performance profile and you've got it in front of you, use it. I want you to rate your current perception of your ability in each quality, ranging from 1, which is the lowest possible ability, to 10, which is, let's say, professional title standard. So all you need to do is just shade in the pie sections to the appropriate level and pause the video to do this, okay? So I want you to pause the video right now and fill in this chart. Okay, welcome back. You should have completed the performance profiles for technical development now. This will give you a clear idea of your current strengths and your current weaknesses in this particular area, but it will also serve as a record for future comparisons the next time that you fill this out, maybe in a couple months or so. And as time goes on, you're going to see your skills growing, And this will be reflected by a greater shaded area in each of those categories. So that's it for this lecture. Very short, but we want to try to keep these short and punchy. You can see here the references. If you want to follow up with some of those references and learn a little bit more, then please, by all means, go ahead. And again, we're going to go through some more performance profiles and physical conditioning and psychological skills. The next video, we're going to cover this off in the area of physical conditioning. So that's it for me in this video. I look forward to seeing you next time.